all. Thank you for joining me today. If you're tuning in on the podcast, we appreciate you. If you're watching in person, thank you for tapping in with us today. Today we're going to be talking about pricing your product with confidence. And honestly, it is one of my favorite topics to cover because let's just be real. The pricing of your product can either make or break your company. It can be the number one factor on whether your company strives and is successful and you hit that six-figure mark, or whether you open up your doors, you have a good year, and then you realize I actually didn't make money. I really just broke even. And now you're kind of like in a financial situation where it's like, how am I going to now invest in my business? So the goal is to catch you before you get there. So, you as a small business owner, just because you've made a couple of mistakes, it doesn't have to be the end all be all. You're here. We're here right now. We're going to learn. So together, let's talk about it. Let's get into this topic of pricing your products so we can figure it out together. Alright, so if you see me checking out this clipboard as we're going through it, this is actually the S.I.S University handout. So if you're tuning in online, you can look at the podcast and there'll be a link underneath the description to where you can download this actual PDF. If you're watching, in the description below, there'll also be a link for you to be able to download this document as well. It's basically going to break down the entire discussion. It'll have your takeaways and formulas, all that good stuff that we're going to get into. Got you. So without further ado, let's jump into it. S.I.S University, pricing your products with confidence. Where do we start? All right, so we're going to talk about the 3 steps to properly pricing your products. And the first step is going to be looking at how much your actual product costs, whether it's the product or service that you sell. So if it's a product, you're going to have that unit price, which is how much you're paying per item, right? If it's a service that you're selling, for instance, web design, graphic design, maybe you're doing consultations, you're going to have to determine how much are you going to charge for your time. So maybe that is $40 an hour, and that's your going rate for graphic design. Or if you're doing consultations, maybe that's $120 per consultation that you're going to charge. That is going to be your unit rate per product. So first off, we're going to start there, and now we're going to bring into play the real life demonstration. So I actually just ordered these, which is pretty cool because I can show you, I actually did all the math. I did my homework, y'all. All right, so also, by the way, these will be available at the Wealthy Sis conference. We'll talk about that later. But so we have these chapsticks, right? And I bought these chapsticks. It's a full box. 24. So we have 24 chapsticks, and out the door I paid $41. And you can follow along at the plugin at the bottom where you'll see I'm breaking down the math. So we're gonna start with the 24 chapsticks demonstration. And what this model is really for is to help you understand, if you buy a product in bulk, how much is the cost per unit, which is for each item individually, and how do you then take that item and price it to make profit? So using a real life example, I'm going to walk you through some of the steps and things that you want to think about as you're pricing your products. So let's get started. So we know that we started with 24 chapsticks. And the price that I paid out the door was $41. So that's Etsy 24 pack out the door, sales tax and shipping included, $41 flat. So now that's $41 out the door. This includes sales, taxes, and shipping. Now what you want to look at is if it's $41 for this box of chapsticks, how much is it for each individual chapstick? So what you want to do is you want to take $41 and divide that by $24. So now what you want to do is you want to take $41 and divide that by 24, which is the amount of chapsticks that you have. That gave me 171 rounded. So I know that each chapstick has to sell bare minimum for $1.71 because that is my price per product. Now, what you want to think about on top of the price per product is going to be processing fees, right? Because if you're using PayPal, Stripe, or any of these, if you have a cash out for business, they take a processing fee. If you're using any of these online platforms to make sales, they're going to charge you upwards to 3% right now, which is the market rate, right? So you want to bake that in. So rounding it up, that's going to put you at $2 per chapstick. That's your break even point. You don't want to sell a chapstick for less than $2 because at that point you'll be losing money, right? And if we're in business of making money, that defeats the purpose. So now let's look at this same example and let's look at, okay, if we know that $2 is our break even point, what are we going to look at as far as in selling our products online? What are we factoring in? So what we're going to factor in is your overhead, like the website, your processing fees, sales taxes, and shipping. Let's break it down. So we said $2 per product, right? And if we sold out, we would stand to make $48. How did I get that? 2 times 24, 48. But now if you look at it online, you want to also think about it. Two times 24 is 48. So you know that if you sold it for $2, right? Like we said, break even point. Because even with your profit margin of $48, if you spent $41, you're only making $7 if you're selling the product for $2. So let's try something a little more realistic. Let's try $3. If we were to sell each chapstick for $3, and if we're selling it online, we'll factor in the shipping cost, right? $2. So the ideal consumer is gonna come to the store online and spend $5 for one piece of chapstick, right? It could work. You know your market better than us all. So at the end of the day, $5 at the out the door is not that bad, especially if you're factoring shipping and maybe you have other things that are available on your website. So you're literally not just selling chapstick, you're selling other things, but we're just talking about the profit off of the chapstick right now. So we know that's a $5 profit. Very reasonable if we're talking about the market. Let's look at what that looks like with $3, which is a $1 increase from the $2 we originally did. 3 times 24, 72. So now, just by that dollar increase, our profit margin has rose to $24. So for this one pack of chapsticks, which was a $41 investment, I'll stand to make $24 if I was to sell it at $3. Not bad. Not bad. These are the different things that you want to take into consideration when you're pricing any product. So, as you can see, when properly done, an investment like $40 in a box of chapsticks can be profitable when done right. If you were to set up a vendor pop-up shop, you know that you would make more because you're in person. You're not having to charge the person more because you're not having to pay for shipping. So you can sell it for a little bit more because you're catching them in person. You're more likely to get a sale in person, right? Okay. Online chapstick, $5. It's a bit much for one chapstick, but true supporters, they'll buy it. Just all things to think about in the long run when you're purchasing a product. To different things that you're going to want to take into account when you are pricing your products. Let's talk about that a little bit more. So when you're thinking about your profit margin and how much you're going to make ultimately off of selling an item, what you want to take into account is everything, not just the actual product, right? So in the prior example, we talked about chapsticks, and we talked about something that's on a minimal scale, right? $2 to ship it, because you can technically put that in like a smaller envelope, so it won't cost much. Smaller items, but the bigger you get, the more complex the shipping process gets, if you know what I mean. If you're selling paintings, you have to worry about fragile stuffing, tissue paper, bubble wrap, all that good stuff, right? If you are selling perfumes, the wrapping. If you're selling t-shirts, a little bit easier. All you gotta do is, put it into a shipping container box. You know what I'm talking about. But let's talk about a couple of different items that you are gonna want to think about. So, business tags, right? So, I actually purchased these for a client who I worked on a lot of their merchandise, right? And you can probably get about 50 tags designed with your logo, about $30, right? Something that you want to take into consideration when you're pricing your products, because on every item, one tag goes on that item, right? So how much are you paying per tag? Are you paying 20 cents per tag? That should be included in your profit margin calculations. Maybe you have stickers that you're using for your clients. So, nice roll of stickers. This is probably about like 200 stickers. I probably paid about $30 for these stickers, but these are generic, so they just say thank you for supporting my small business. You can absolutely get like stickers like this with your logo on it. How much are you paying per roll? Is it 5 cents per sticker? It seems minute, but these small costs add up over time. The longer you're in business, the more you're gonna spend. Tax write-offs, these things are important. Shipping boxes, right? How much are we spending? Shipping mailers. So like the, goes inside the box. The mailer that goes inside the box. How much are you spending? All of these things are very important to think about when you're trying to figure out how much you want to price your product at. All right, y'all still rocking with me? Or did I lose y'all yet? So, we're now on step 3. So we talked about how to understand your unit price, how to figure out what are the other additional components to your pricing that you're needing to factor into your overall break-even point. So remember, shirt company, how much is it costing you to make the shirt? How much does it cost you to ship the shirt? How much does it cost you to get from your house to the gas station? Not to the gas station. How much does it cost for you to get from your house to the post office? If you're using tissue paper, how much is the tissue paper that's going inside of the mailer? All of these things, as you're spending money, you're gonna start to realize, I wanna keep, better account, because I wanna be able to write off as much as I need to write off when it makes, you know, when it's time to file your taxes to make it make sense. So, last but not least, monitoring your pricing. So, honestly, I feel like this is the most important of the 3 steps because pricing is never permanent, right? So your price today should not be the same price next year. And your price today shouldn't be the same price that your price was last year, right? Because every year, one, inflation prices. Bare minimum, if you're trying to find an excuse to raise your prices, you have to factor in inflation. 2, you have to factor in the growth of your business and, you know, how much you've grown, right? So if your products have improved, factor that in. If you've learned a new skill, so now you're providing more value, factor that in. These are things that you want to think about first off when we're talking about monitoring your pricing. Secondly, what you want to think about is consumer feedback. Have you been, you know, speaking to people and people are like, "Ooh, you're so expensive"? And is it in a way where it's like a lot of people, or is it just a couple here and there? Does that mean that you should change the people that you're targeting? Like maybe you're not specifically like leaning into your target market, or does it mean that you should adjust your price point for a specific market? Every company has price points for different markets. You can take that even from state to state. In New York, they'll pay a web designer more because the price and, you know, the price adjustment, cost of living and everything is more in New York versus in Florida. So the same gig in Florida that you get paid $1,000 for, in New York you could possibly get paid $2,000 for. It's all about knowing your market. So you wanna monitor your pricing, understand your market. You want to get feedback from other individuals. You want to ask for reviews. And you know, mentors are great. You know, a great starting point to try to figure out, like, you know, what the market is. Market research, top. You know, the top way to figure out how much you're gonna charge is just market research. What are other videographers, you know, with your experience, charging in the market? Great place to start, especially if you're a service-based business. What you ultimately want to do is understand, if you're just starting out, what it's going to cost you to get into business, right? So if you're trying to start an actual clothing line and you know that, okay, you want to start off with this many items and you want to have items in stock, how much can you afford it to invest in your business right now? Break down your pricing, you know, your price profit margin. Know what it's going to take for you to sell to meet that goal. So at least you understand, okay, if I'm going to, you know, sell these t-shirts and I'm going to buy these t-shirts in bulk, I know that I have to sell at least like 20 to make my money back. So at least you have an attainable goal that you're now working towards. The worst thing is getting started, being invested, but not knowing where you want to go. So you're kind of just out here and then you're losing money because you're selling your products, you know, here and there and here and there and here and there. So your money is just like you're spending it as you're going, so you're not keeping account of anything. And you know, at the end of the year you're like, oh snap, I made 50,000, shoot, where'd it go? You didn't account for anything, so you're not even gonna really see it. That's why understanding your pricing is so important. Pricing your product the right way is so important. It can basically determine whether you lose a client or whether somebody jumps on board with you. Having your price too low can scare people away sometimes. Having your price too high can do the same thing. So it's just understanding your market. Nobody can tell you what to sell your product, service, or anything for. Only you can do that. But you have to be strategic in your approach. So it takes doing your homework, talking to mentors, and getting clear about your money mindset and knowing what your goals are and what it's going to take for you to get there. So that means pulling out the spreadsheet. It means on Excel, product inventory. How many items do I have to sell to get here? And if you're not going to be the one to do it, it means hiring someone else to do it. But ultimately, if you want to be in business, that's an investment that you should make. So this concludes the 3 steps to pricing your products properly. And to be honest, the number one thing I do want you to take away is people respect what you inspect. And what that means is, ultimately, if you listen to your customers, you keep an eye on your market, and you do your homework, people will respect you in business. And don't be afraid to price yourself accordingly. So if your item is $100, it's $100. Stand behind your price. Stand behind the price of your product. Because if you come into it hesitant, people are going to feel that. And then if you're hesitant about me paying $100 for your service, then I'm going to be hesitant about paying $100 for your service. And that's just fact, because your energy is going to transfer. So it's just something I want you to think about. That's my takeaway. Thank you for tuning into S.I.S University, and many more to come. I wish you the best of success in your business. You can always come back to our channel, see what other videos we have uploaded. Subscribe, please, like, all that good stuff. It's what keeps us going. And at any point in time, you have any trouble, don't hesitate to reach out to our team.